podcast, another Boss Moves with Business Acumen podcast, aka Boss Moves. My name is Charles. Boss Moves. My name is Charles. I've got my two business partners in the room with us today. What's happening, fellas?
What's good? What's good?
What's going on? What's going on? This
That's
is Trey.
Yeah, it's Mo.
That's Trey. What's happening, fellas? We in here.
What's going on, family?
Man, we're gonna get down to it, brother. I've been tracking, and I think we all discussed this briefly, but we've been tracking this Bloomberg.com article. The title of it is this. It says, Black business owners ranks collapse by 41% in U.S. lockdowns.
Man,
that's a lot, fam.
That is a lot.
That's tough.
That's just the title. Let's see what we're gonna get into it and see what it's talking about. I'm just gonna read a little bit of it here. Studies suggest that an outsized harm to African Americans and Latinos. Over 3.3 million U.S. businesses closed overall, largest on record. The COVID-19 economic shutdown has hurt African American businesses the most among racial and ethnic groups in the U.S., with a 41% decline of Black owners from February to April, a new study from the National Bureau of Economic Research shows. While the pandemic has hit entrepreneurs across the board, closing some 3.3 million small businesses, at least temporarily, sidelining 440,000 African Americans was especially severe. Black owners may have fared worse because fewer of them operated in industries deemed essential during the pandemic, among other factors, according to the NBER paper. Immigrant business owners also fared poorly, with a 36% drop during the period. That's just the beginning of the article, but that's enough for us to talk about. Man, how do you guys see that?
That's heavy.
Very, very heavy.
It kind of reminds me of, you know how they say during every kind of economic downturn, really the wealth gap widens a lot of times because of things like this. We lose critical assets such as businesses, and we even lose homes during certain downturns. So other, maybe the dominant society or whoever really has the money and the cash really picks up those assets for, pennies on the dollar. So, it just really kind of reminded me of that. So that's a horrible statistic to hear.
It is horrible, Trey. And like we said before, and like we always say, when white folks catch the flu, Black folks catch COVID. So, and this is a big example of that. And what I noticed in this article, off of what you just said, Charles, Black owners fewer were deemed essential. And the funny thing about that is, when you're a Black business, how unessential you are, as opposed to when you're working for someone, how they have you right there on the front line. So they don't want you making
essential
money for yourself, but they want you making money for them. So that's what it popped out at me when you were reading that snippet of the article there.
You know what's crazy? What comes to my mind in all of this, and it's related, but it's a little bit off. The thing is, there's so many of us who have been locked up for nonviolent marijuana crimes, just possession, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, or intent to sell or whatever.
Right.
But did you know that marijuana businesses were deemed essential? Now that white folks own them,
right?
Now that white folks are making a big piece of the pot, they're deemed essential businesses in this pandemic. I read that earlier today too. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's bananas.
And it's already hard for us to get in on that market anyway. Just like you said, it's mostly dominated by the white, ethnicity of this country. So,
but one thing I will say, I know, I try to bring up, some type of solutions. I do believe that we can take some responsibility in changing that, because we really have gone away from like our trades. we've gotten to the point where we think like, let me get a cute office job. But we need to get back, especially as black men, maybe not so much as the women, but the black men definitely need to get back into starting plumbing businesses, becoming electricians
Yeah.
and starting our own
HVAC.
electricity company,
Yeah, man.
HVAC, plumbing. You know what I'm saying? We need to get back to those essential trades because we really do need those things, and those things are critical. We need, black cement pavers and just everything. There's so many things out here that black people could do that I don't think we realize. Because just talking to different, people wanting to start businesses and things of that nature, we have so many nail salons, so many chicken restaurants, so many barbershops. And this is not to down those because, I definitely go to the barbershop. I definitely go to black restaurants and try to promote, support black businesses like that. But we need different things in the black community. We need, a lot of things that have to do with real estate and just essential positions for real. So that's kind of what I take from it as well.
That's big.
You want to know what else is amazing about that, though? You talk about trades, is that after the Civil War, black men were the most skilled people on the planet.
Absolutely.
After the Civil War, right
sense.
after slavery, and that was the big fear from white folks because at the time they couldn't really do anything. All of their skilled workers, all the millers of iron, all the people who worked with, all the blacksmiths, all the people who were carpenters, all the people who did the plumbing, all the people who did the electricity, like all of those people were us. And we were the skilled workers. That's why that's why unions were created in the first place, to push us out of those jobs and to make sure they hired other people. And it's really funny because we were just talking about that article, talking about the prolific slave owner in Nashville, Montgomery Bell. All of his slaves were iron workers. They worked with iron ore. He had some of the most skilled enslaved people in the whole country, and he was one of the, I think in Tennessee, he had the most enslaved people. It's crazy.
That is,
anyway.
And
That's wild.
I'm glad you said that, because that is very true. A lot of people don't really understand the history of unions and really economic deprivation in our community. They don't understand that certain things really did happen that to really target us economically. So when I know Farrakhan always says, exactly. Farrakhan always says, back in the day when we first got out of slavery, it was like seeing a unicorn if you saw a white man with a hammer. White men didn't do work like that. White men didn't build any. Hell, they didn't have to.
Right. They didn't have to.
So exactly. So yeah, you're right. When we came out, they knew we were the only skilled labor. So they started all these unions. It would be nice for us in this day and age, especially when you have such a digital interface and such a digital network. It would be nice for us to create some sort of union or some sort of organization or not political, but at least nonprofit governing body where we can sit there and make sure all of our people are either employed or have access to, business capital. So, we get all black people together. And if you're black, we're going to make sure you get employed.
100%.
We can start businesses and doing things of that nature. If something happens where you have racial incidents that happen at your job or some type of incidents where you just been some type of little prejudice or racial incidents or whatever, we have lawyers or whatever to go ahead and, help them on your side. Just like when these police officers shoot and kill people innocently, they have police unions that back them up, got lawyers, they got the best of everything because they have a big ass governing body behind them that, will take care of it. So we kind of need that as black people. It would be good to have something of that nature.
I agree with you, Trey.
And maybe another push towards skilled gigs. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was sure. No, you're definitely right, Trey. Now, and I did some looking around, and since we're talking about supporting black-owned businesses, I found something for us to kind of chat about 6 big reasons to do so. Y'all ready for this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, amazing. Right.
So, we already know that the racial gap, the wealth gap, is wide already. And all that comes back to, we talked about slavery initially, the Jim Crow era, redlining, there's all kinds of job discrimination, home ownership. So I think, y'all know I'm a numbers guy. I like to do some research. In 1935, the Social Security Act didn't afford coverage to domestic and agricultural workers. And of course, that was mostly us,
Right.
So that kept us away from even getting Social Security because we were working menial jobs and off the book jobs. So what do y'all think that what we could do to kind of close that racial gap, that racial wealth gap, excuse me? No, just for gaining wealth for the Black community and supporting Black-owned businesses.
Oh man, definitely. First of all, businesses create wealth, number one.
Right.
And like the points we made earlier in this conversation is that we have to go back to being able to do something. Like we're all looking for jobs, looking for somebody to put us on. I go on Facebook Marketplace looking for stuff like, to be done with my house. I'm looking for people to do my driveway. I'm looking for people to remove trees. I know brothers that do all of that, but right. I'm on there and it's all of these skills. I got two of my cousins that are deep in HVAC. They work for somebody. I'm like, yo, what we got to do to get y'all with y'all own business? Y'all have a skill. You don't have to work for such and such. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think number one, we gotta get back into learning these skills. Whether you pulling it into 2020 and you learning programming, you know what I'm saying? That's a skill. Yeah, you learning programming languages. Yeah, I'm learning CSS and HTML right now. Like I'm trying to learn some new shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we have to do that. Now, see, when you get those skills, then you can easily start I ain't gonna say easy. It's never easy to start a business, but you have more of a leg to stand on instead of just trying to, okay, I'm gonna buy a store. I'm gonna do this. Like something that's not associated with a skill. When it's associated with a skill, it's like you always have a business already. Because if you can do something, that's your business. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like if you can make furniture, you don't have to necessarily, have an LLC. Eventually you will, or S corp. But we have marketplaces today where if you want to go and do some kind of service for somebody, like, you need somebody to make this, I got it. Money's exchanged. That's your business.
That's your business. And go ahead, Trey. No, go ahead, Trey.
Well, I was just going to say, I think we're really kind of starting the first part of the process now, because the main process is the code. Back when you had like Tulsa and especially just coming out of slavery, hell, all they had was themselves. I mean, everything was so segregated. Right. They had to go to their own doctors. They had to go to their own movie theaters. So it's easy to have a Tulsa, not easy, but it's somewhat easy to have a Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street type side of town. That's why really they're really those types of towns and those areas of towns all over the country.
That's
even
right.
in Nashville, Jefferson Street, right? Jefferson Street, Black businesses. So, and Black business centers. So we really just need the code. I think naturally, even just doing what you need to do to survive, we'll start our own economy. It's just the code that'll keep it going. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because we're going to need cleaners and restaurants and whatever else, entertainment. We're going to need that. So as long as we have the code, we'll be fine. We just got to get back to where we, got love for each other, really.
That's most important. That is number one.
That is.
I agree with that code. Staying on code, that's number one.
Right.
And I think those are great examples of what can help close that racial wealth gap. A lot of the people don't know, like the government is out there to help small businesses more so than people who work for businesses. Even now, in the CARES Act that we talked about in our past podcast, there's the payroll protection plan. And in order to qualify for that, it's like a capital loan where you actually get 2.5 times your average payroll, which you can use for not only payroll, but rent, mortgage payments, utilities, and about 75% of that is actually qualifies you for forgiveness. So you don't have to pay it back. You don't get, it's just free money.
Actually, our government, supports small businesses and actually is in favor of small business. That's why we, some people, it's just ignorance that people, get mad at Trump. And I understand Trump's, a fool. But at the same time, when he's talking about he didn't pay taxes, instead of jumping out and hating and getting mad at that, I was telling people like, y'all need to peep game.
That's it.
Y'all need to peep game. Fuck getting mad at Trump. Don't get mad at Trump. Don't hate the player. Hate the game.
Hate the game.
I remember Warren Buffett said he pays like less in taxes than like his secretary.
His secretary.
His secretary. He pays less in taxes than his secretary. Don't hate the player. Just hate the game. Don't hate the player. Hate the game. Just join. We just need to learn the skills. We can do the exact same thing. We just need to learn the skills, be able to write things off on our taxes and shit like that. So
and that's why that's
definitely wise.
That's why we came up with this group. That's why we have our website, BMBAinvesting.com, because we are here to help the community. We're here to help your business grow. Hit us up on our website, drop us a line, give us your comments. Now, another thing that also helps with closing this racial wealth gap is when we create our businesses, we also create jobs for people who are in our community. That right there, in and of itself, helps to grow that wealth. And speaking of growing that wealth, what are some ways, fellas, that we can strengthen our local economies? So I just kind of mentioned one there, how our small businesses hire other people that are usually, when small businesses are started, they hire people around the business, which are in the community. So if Black people are starting businesses, we're most likely going to hire other Black people that look like us. Can y'all give us some advice on strengthening local economies?
And I think it's more of what Trey just said, man. It's like, it's us keeping that code. It's us turning that dollar over locally, turning that dollar over in our communities, using the tools that we have. We got 2 excellent apps that I know of. One of them, the Black Wall Street app. The other one's called the Black Nation app. And between the 2 of them, like, you should be able to find whatever it is you need, to keep it in our community, to keep it local, and at the very least, keep it Black. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's just going to take us being conscious. That's all. Because, what we do is we just mindlessly and just, we're so used to just going anywhere. Oh, I'll go to Walmart. Oh, I'm going to go to Home Depot. Like, like when you can look around your house and see that the products that you have came from Black businesses, or you can look in your closet and you can actually see something, like, you're on the right track. But, Definitely. How many of us can actually say that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Charles. And basically kind of going back to again what I said earlier in terms of like unions, I think that would strengthen the economy or our local community and the economy in our local community, definitely, because if we had a protection mechanism, I remember there was this one young lady, we almost should look at this, like I told you, sanctions and nations and almost like our own mafia family. There was one young Black lady that owned her own hair salon or her own hair supply store, but she could not continue because the Asian supplier stopped supplying her.
They would. Yeah.
See, we need to have sanctions against, that's how you strengthen our community and our economy. You can be like, oh, okay, so you want to not supply, our sister who's trying to do a hair supply store. Okay, you don't want to supply her. Well, we have sanctions. So now we are saying we will not supply this to your community. We will not supply this or do this for your people. And,
we will not buy from you.
We will not.
That's right.
We will not buy. We're not going to your Chinese restaurants. We're not going to your hair supply stores. We're not going to nothing. And we'll set this bitch off across the nation. Excuse my language.
So that's passion right there. That's passion.
Right. Because, I get busy because in the end, I don't want to speak like that, but, it's warfare. Business is warfare. And you know what I mean?
You're exactly
You understand
right.
what I'm saying? In the end, I got to stand up for my people, even if it comes to physical matters. So, whatever it is, we just need to protect ourselves and kind of create those unions and those governing bodies. So when you see a Black person, you see more than a Black person. You see a whole image of like, okay, he's represented by a community, a real community. So
that's real, Trey. That's true. That's trill. That's trill, Trey. Now, because we already know that we already are behind the 8 ball. So in 2017, the National Community Reinvestment Coalition found that banks are twice as likely to loan to white applicants than black ones, and 3 times as likely to follow up on meetings with whites than us as blacks. So we already behind the 8 ball. So the only way we can grow as a community is to invest in the community. We go to our own shops. We go to buy our own local anything. Just support hair salons. You said that, Trey. Barber shops. We got black-owned banks, grocery stores, markets. They're there. We might have to search them, look up on on the internet and find them, but they're there.
The apps.
We talked about Black Wall Street. We talked about Black Wall Street app.
Shout out to one of the oldest black banks in the nation, Citizens Bank in Nashville, Tennessee, on Jefferson Street, part of that, that Black Business Center in Nashville. So shout out to them. Might be the oldest black bank continuously running black bank in the nation, to be honest, if I'm not mistaken.
It's between that one and Citizens Trust in Atlanta.
Okay.
Hey, bro, I'm banging for my city every time. So I mean, you know what I mean? We Citizens Bank over here in Jefferson Street. You know how I'm
just
coming.
Telling you.
You know how I'm coming. I'm like, fuck the other side. You know what I mean? No, I'm playing. No, I'm playing. Back to business. Okay.
So that leads us to the third topic. So the third the third reason to support black-owned businesses. We kind of led into it a little bit with fostering job creation. Now, in 2012, the U.S. Census data showed that black-owned businesses created 1 million jobs, while white-owned businesses created almost 56 million. Even today, during this pandemic, unemployment rates, whites are at 14.2% unemployment, Asians are at 14.5% unemployment, blacks, we are at 16.7, while Hispanics are at 18.9. And that's as of April of this year. So that's why it's important for us to make sure we start our businesses, right, fellas? We start our businesses, we start employing the community, which creates that wealth.
Absolutely.
So like number four would be celebrating culture. So in certain ways, we think about how to create a business, how to create a job. And one of the things is finding the need in the community and trying to fulfill that need. I think we do have an Instagram page in which we put that up on our page just to put out information to the culture, to the community. And that's what we want to do. We're trying to help. So we think that is the best way to even think about starting a business in and of itself. Y'all have any feedback on how to start a business, like the grassroots, the digging in the mud, the very beginnings of a business?
Out the mud, what they say? Out the mud.
Out the mud.
Hey, no, straight up, like you said though, man, it's about a need, I think you started to say something about kind of digging into what the culture, because we talking about black businesses, we're a cultural people. And I think a lot of us can really benefit from getting deeper into our culture, And when I say our culture, I'm saying we have a foundational, we have a Black American culture. So there are businesses that kind of focus on, some things that can bring us up, that big us up in that way. So I mean, I think those are some of the things we can focus on and get those things popping.
So I know a business where you can start selling kente and floss and dashikis to the Democrats. That's what we need to start doing.
To the senators.
Right, to all the senators. Start
selling right
dashikis, you know what I mean?
Right.
They look like some clowns.
Oh, man.
Get a little push cart and push it through the Capitol with a bunch of dashikis hanging out the side.
Right. And some knee pads.
Hey, that's a business. That's a business, hey, and that's a good start. You start doing a push cart. Maybe you move to a kiosk in the mall. Maybe you move to a store. Yeah. Baby steps.
Kente cloth knee pads.
Right, but I'll double the side. Really,
hold up. I ain't through with the jokes yet. Hold up. Kente cloth knee pads that convert over to mask, my nigga.
This nigga's
Man,
dumb.
dual purposes in this thing. Dual
The same
purposes.
shape. It's the same shape. All right, I'm through now. My bad. I'm through, Trey. Go ahead.
Anyway, but being dead real though, just piggybacking off what you said, like we really all you gotta do is see the net to see the need. You know what I mean? So now the senators are wearing dashikis, feed them dashikis. Then you know what I mean? Like basically see a need that's in your community, especially in your direct community. That's really right around you. Something that you can, you see the people, in your neighborhood need. Go ahead and take that and attack it. And what I always tell people is, you don't want to seem like a salesman. So what you do is you come to the community as if you are a servant of the community. Like I'm coming to the community, like I'm having hand sanitizer. Now, of course, you could say, "Oh yeah, you're taking advantage of the coronavirus and the hand sanitizer. You're just out here price gouging and trying to get it." Or you can come to your people like, "I'm really here trying to provide a service. We need, to be cleaner and healthier and whatever else. Here's my hand sanitizer. Blah 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 blah." So you come to you find the niche, find the need. And then you come to it as a service, and then you provide value. One thing that a lot of people try to do again is just go straight for cash. In the beginning, you provide as much value as you can. You tell them, well, my hand sanitizer is better because it actually kills, 99.99999% of germs. Do whatever. You know what I'm saying?
That extra 99, huh?
Right, that extra 99. But you provide value and you tell people, because even Austin, he has on his mask, aplusessentials.com. I'll go ahead and shout his company out, A Plus Essentials. He has masks on his site, and he was dropping knowledge to me about the different masks and the different filters and what's good for it, like what stops the virus, what doesn't stop the virus. You know what I'm saying? But he was dropping knowledge and value on me, even without me just purchasing a mask. But he wanted to educate me on the difference out there. You know what I'm saying? So
and Austin's the homeboy to the group, so big up to Austin.
Yeah, Austin's a homeboy of the group. He he got property, real estate. He has he also has essential items that he's in the healthcare industry, so he has essential items. So basically we just want to support our brothers. But he saw a need in the market, and he approaches it like it's a service. Like I want to make sure my people are healthy. I want to make sure we got good masks, got good hand sanitizers. He even has the thermometers. So he goes up to different businesses and talks to them. We need to make sure that all your employees are healthy or whatever. Here's thermometers. So you just go at it like it's a service, and you'll get and provide value, and you'll get a much better return in the end.
That's a smooth move right there, Trey. Shouted out our boy. You did a whole 5-minute spiel on him. Hopefully he give you something to the table. We're gonna move on to number 5. Number 5 is when we invest in our community, when we invest in our small businesses that are in the community, we are also holding the bigger corporations accountable. When I say that, we're holding our dollar as a vote. Can we speak on the fact that how important it is to make sure we hold these other companies accountable by starting our own businesses?
I was going to say, when we do that, we force these bigger corporations, we force them to come correct. We force them to come with better products. We force them to come with higher quality products. Because like as of now, if you have no options, they can give you anything. And a lot of times do.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of these places, think about in some of these food deserts and some of these convenience stores where the Middle Eastern people, treat us any kind of way, have any kind of thing, the worst foods, the worst prices, but that's all that's there.
Right.
If you got a brother down the street that's got something better to offer, and that was just an example, but he's not really a corporation, but that's the way we should see that.
That's
but
exactly.
We force them to step up.
Right. I think that's critical, and really competition is the basis of capitalism. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that you're very right. When you don't have competition, they can do whatever they want to do to your food, to your, the quality of your products that you bring in your household. But when you sit here and you come back and be like, no, actually, I got my own products. They're actually organic. They're actually, safe to be around children, cleaning products that are safe to be around children or whatever. When you come with that, I have, quality food. I always trip about, like you said, like the Arabs. None of them Arabs that you see within convenience stores, none of them eat pork. Most of them probably don't even drink beer. But they'll sell you all the 40 ounces, all the malt liquor, and they'll sell you all the sausage links that you want, that you'll eat.
Yeah.
But none of them eat, they won't eat the shit that they're selling you.
You're
So
right,
when you
Trey.
sit there and you have another convenience store and your convenience store sells good, healthy food, sells your food might be a little bit fresher, more vegetables, more fruits. When you sell that, you make them up their game. You raise the bar to your standard and your level, and then they have to catch up. They're playing catch up to you.
You're right.
So that's something that we need to look at.
Absolutely, man. But a quick point about that before we move to this last point is that I've seen that in action over the last 10 years. So, I was vegan for like 15, 16 years, right?
Yeah.
And so over that amount of time, it was like none of the grocery stores had, plant-based foods. They weren't really, their meat quality was horrible. They weren't labeling anything, because they weren't doing it. It's so funny. I just really started back eating meat the last 6 to 12 months. And it's not even everything. It's like some chicken, some turkey, whatever. Last time I was eating meat, none of the labels had none of the stuff that's on there now. Like now you eat chicken, I'm talking about the biggest chicken producers and the biggest meat producers have hormone-free, pasture-raised, like all of these little catchphrases that only the best products had in Whole Foods. Like once upon a time, you could only get stuff that said that even on the package from Whole Foods, and it's gonna cost you an arm and a leg. Now, you at Kroger, you at Publix, and on their packaging, they're like, these animals were never given hormones. These animals were never given corn-based feed. Like they're getting into the feed types, and that's as an effect of competition with places like Whole Foods, places like
Trader Joe's.
Some of those other Trader Joe's, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a great point, and something to remember.
That is true. Now, when we think about holding companies accountable, there are, I think, 4 companies within the past maybe year or so who have kind of shown themselves a bit to us. We're talking about Gucci with their blackface, aware, H&M with their jungle hoodies or whatever you want to call it, Starbucks, removing people from their premises just for coming in and sitting and having a meeting with their friends, and Facebook with their hiring diversity problem. They promote diversity, but let's see diversity in your front office. So like we've been saying for number 5, holding other companies accountable, we are divesting from the practices and holding companies accountable, and which also helps to empower the community, Black-owned businesses, and implement equitable practices. So, that's why we say vote with your dollar and not with your mouth, not with your fist, vote with your dollar, and vote in your presidential, your local elections. It's all important. It all works together. So we're on number 6, fellas, the last one, and that's visibility and representation in the green economy. So with this number 6, we want to make sure that attention is given to Black-owned businesses, which will help the green movement and make sure that it's for everybody. What that does is it inspires the younger generation so that they know that they can come up and say, hey, this guy has a business. Why can't I? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we vote with our dollar, which provides an inclusive economy. So that wealth gap is shortening. It's getting smaller and smaller. We've seen where, and we've just mentioned how the marijuana business, there's no representation there for our community. Having access to wealth will help close that wealth gap. can y'all give us or talk about a little bit of how we can be visible and be represented in this green economy?
And you are
I
speaking
think
of in terms of actual marijuana industry?
I'm green is in money. I'm sorry. Green is in money. But marijuana is a part of it. That's a part of it, definitely.
Okay, I was thinking you were talking about the green economy as in like electric vehicles, like going towards stuff that's like more
And that's what I thought at
green
first. Right.
for the environment. That's not what you're saying?
That's not, green is when I'm talking about money. So the green economy is being able to help close that wealth gap. How can we be visible and be represented in order to be more inclusive in that economy, that green economy, as opposed to being left out?
We're gonna have to just take the risk, man. I think a lot of us we've gotten into the bad habit of looking for somebody to give us a job. I went to Morehouse, and it seemed like more often than not, Morehouse was breeding us to be these corporate shills. You know what I mean? And I had so many of my brothers that were like, so gung ho to get out and get a job on Wall Street. A lot of them did. I say 90% of them stayed there about 6 months to a year and learned that is not what's happening. They did not want that life. Some of them excelled and was just like, and left, came back to Georgia and started a farm. I know one of the brothers started a farm.
Wow.
Grew soybeans, became a millionaire doing that. Like,
wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's big.
That's Wall Street. But so, we just have to take the risks and just kind of like we're doing, man. We have to be persistent. We have a lot of us that are disillusioned about what business is like and what it's going to take to be successful in a business. We're expecting to do some shit we saw on TV where we start a business with some brothers, and our first venture is we hit it out of the park, where we making $5,000 a month easy on something we just threw a little bit of money into. No, you're gonna have failures. You're gonna have to stay persistent. You might not be positive on your books for the first 2 or 3 years, but if you can keep it going, it clicks. It's like anything else. You have to stay the course. You have to be persistent. You got to have some toughness, and you got to have some faith. So, I say take the risk and get out there, jump out there and do it.
I definitely agree with you. I also think that we really need to stay really on this unapologetically black tip. We have a great momentum right now. I think we have a great movement in terms of just black people in our economy. We have a great movement right now where all eyes are on black people. We need to keep our foot on the necks in terms of reparations. Every time that there's a building going up in a city, especially a large city like even just Nashville or DC or Atlanta, we need to make sure are you all going by the standards and meeting your minority representation? And we really need to be unapologetically black and we need black representation on this work site.
Yeah.
We need black contractors. We need black this. We need black that. So I think to really just keep standing out there with our movement, no, y'all aren't going to overlook black people. We're going to not only start our own businesses, take care of ourselves by patronizing our businesses, but these government contracts especially, and all these big jobs that y'all are supposed to have minority positions, it's not, we're not going to have any more that it's minority and it's a white woman that runs the company. So her and her husband actually get the job. No. No more minority of that. No more even people of color.
People of color. We gotta be specific.
Because black people got our ass kicked. So all these minority peoples can claim minority and get all these set asides. We got our ass kicked. We had dogs, hoses, all type of shit on us. Lynchings, burning it up in bombing, church building bombings. We went through that. I don't know any other group that went through that shit.
Right.
That was the civil rights movement. Exactly. To reap the benefits.
Right.
Exactly. And all that set aside, all the affirmative action, all that shit really still gets skipped over us. So I think we just need to keep our foot on their necks in terms of just being unapologetically black. No. Y'all are going to give us reparations. We're going to start our own economy. We're going to start our own towns. We're going to do this. And we're going to operate just like everybody else does, just like Asians do. we're going to operate with our own businesses and our own communities just like that, just like Hispanics do. We're going to do the exact
Because
same
nobody
thing.
says anything. Nobody says anything when
When
Asians
they do
only
it,
hire Asians.
right,
When they only hire Asians, nobody says anything. When they don't invest in our communities, they take the money immediately out of our communities, right back to
right,
their communities.
Right.
We get questions if we get questioned and heat brought down on us if we are only hiring black people or if we're only dealing with our own. We got questions. We're in a time right now where we're not gonna get those questions because I think it's not questionable what's been happening to us and why we
right.
need to look out for ourselves. So we got to
See,
seize the day.
right,
Right.
exactly. And just last note, see, being black and naturally black is we're the only people where when you're naturally yourself, it's militant. It's rebellious.
Right.
It's something that's almost a negative. You let your natural hair grow out, a nigga sees you as militant. Oh nigga,
Yeah.
you got dreads, you got braids, you got your natural hair, you ain't got a perm, you ain't got this, you ain't got a low cut, you got a
Being who
beard.
you are.
That's right.
Being who you are. So we just need to get rid of that fear, like, oh God, white people gonna be uncomfortable if black people say they're black. You know what I'm saying? We got to get rid of that. That got to go out the window. We got to support ourselves, take care of ourselves, and be unapologetically black, and we will be fine. To be very honest with you, we will run everything, at least our own community. That's a given. But really, we'll run everything else, because then when you're unapologetically black, now all the NBA players, now all their lawyers, all their agents, all the NFL players, everybody around them, everybody around who in the black community who has money, everybody around them will now be starting to get money because they're going to be passing their money off to other black people. So I think that's just what we need to do. Keep a message out there. This is all about black people, not about minorities, and help ourselves.
People
That's
of color.
big. That's big. Now, for the record, for everybody listening, I pretty much threw these guys under the bus with these questions. Nobody was prepared. Nobody had looked anything up. We just went in talking, freestyling, and just showing how passionate and how knowledgeable we are on the subject and what we want to be able to do for our community. So those were the six reasons to support black-owned businesses. And the biggest thing is that you want to try to vote, not only your local elections, you want to vote by using your dollar. And that dollar is going to help provide inclusive economy for everybody. But we're talking specifically for the black community.
Right, and just to the last point, yeah, we need like political action committees and things of that nature, big organizations that kind of look out for our interests and our interests only. So, going forward, maybe we can help, being the people that establish that.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Hey, that's a great place for us to bow out. This has been a wonderful conversation today. It always is. I know I say that every time, but it always is.
Always.
You guys speak with so much passion, and I sit back and listen to us. We know what we're talking about. So I hope everybody else got as much out of this as I did, and we're gonna catch y'all on the flip side. BMBA, we out.
Boss moves,
We out.
boss moves. Peace, family.